Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018, 5:48 p.m., and we will now begin the Compton City Council meeting. If you could all please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All power to the people.
Roll call.
Councilperson Zarita, Galvan, McCoy. Here. Sharif.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. He's not here. Okay. We will now proceed forward to public comments on agenda and non-agenda matters. The first speaker of the evening is Mr. Robert Ray.
Good evening, Robert Ray, Compton. Item number 6, stupid, ridiculous, and outrageous. We can't even take care of the city parks that we have. And let me remind you, you had over $10 million to develop a Laundra Regional Park. Over $5 million of that was grant money. Grant money is only supposed to be used for the purpose it was originally intended. Forget this ridiculous thing. We need to fix our streets so we can drive on them and fix our parks so they can be used. Take that grant money, put it back where it belongs, and develop a Laundra Regional Park. Also, the state of California requires we have so many acres of green space. That's why that park was designated. Also, the state of California has another regulation, AEDs, automated external defibrillators. There's supposed to be one in every city building. There's none in this building. City Hall is supposed to have 2, one downstairs, one in the city attorney's office. Fire department went to change the batteries, couldn't find it. So we need to find out where these defibrillators are. There's supposed to be one in each building. If it's a 2-story building, one on each floor, and one in every city park. All of our employees are trained in AEDs. And city attorney, if somebody has a heart attack in one of our buildings with no defibrillator, you got a lawsuit on your hands. So you need to get with the city manager. Now, back to the audit. The audit covered 2013 to 2016, which was on your watch. And it says you folks contributed to digging the hole even deeper. It's time to make some changes. You only need one liaison. And Mr. McCoy, correct me if I'm wrong, was there not a time when you were the one and only liaison for the city? I believe, okay, so we only need one liaison. Give the rest of them pink slips, keep one, use that money to hire code enforcement, parking enforcement, and public works people. That's where the money is needed. And as far as the extra money you guys are getting, you don't need a vehicle allowance. The city has a whole yard full of vehicles to use for city business. And for your cell phone allowance, this is an AT&T cell phone. It's a cell phone. It does email. It does internet. It's only $35 a month. Why are you guys paying so much for your stuff? It's ridiculous. You need to learn to live within a budget. And all that money that you transferred from other grant monies to the general fund needs to be put back. Learn how to live on a budget to save money.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Lewis.
Mayor, City Council members.
Good evening, ma'am.
I want to thank you, number one, for recognizing my museum, the African American Miniature Museum. That recognition is very cherished by my family. But today I'm here as a community person that lives here in Compton, and I wanted to let you know that your people are suffering in unit in District 1. Our water is dark brown every day for the last 6 or 7 days, day and night. It might clear out at midnight. So we can't cook, we can't brush our teeth, we have to go and buy water, and we need some answers. Sativa told him it was our pipes, but everybody in the neighborhood has the same problem. This is inhumane. We don't know anything about the bacteria that's in here, which I want an independent lab to test. And I'm just here, I know you guys, that's not your purview, sativa, but this has to be addressed. So I thank the city manager and Michael Harvey, your water district person. I talked to him and he's gonna follow up. But I just wanted you to know your people are suffering here in Compton. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis, and I can assure you that we do not take this lightly, and even though this is not our city water system, we understand that it is sativa, and the city manager has briefed the council. We'll be reaching out to sativa tomorrow morning to get more information, and I know that we do have the ability to test water, so I would like the city to actually test the water for the residents to ensure we have a record, because they are still Compton residents, regardless of the water system that they subscribe to.
And we do have several bottles of the water. Now today, miraculously, it cleared up right before the city council meeting. So whatever they were doing, they stopped it today. And thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll find out additional information if they're, and there may be an issue if they're flushing their water line, that it could create the brown water, but they need to notify us as well so that we can notify the residents. So we'll get to the bottom of what the issue is.
I want them to bring portable water into our community. That's $40, $50 I have to pay
and they
every
can do
week
that.
for clean water.
And they can do that.
Yeah,
thank you. So
they can do that.
We will follow up with them tomorrow morning, and I'm just asking publicly to ensure that the council receives a follow-up report in writing so that we can have that as part of our record as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Lewis.
Okay, thank you.
E.F. Muhammad Martinez.
Power to the people. Mohammed Martinez, former member of the Black Panther Party, but I'm still a Panther to the day I die. I just want to bring a message to all our black and brown people in this community and everywhere in this nation. Right now, what we are living with right now is a Nazi regime under the heinous, evil devil Donald Trump. What Donald Trump has done, he has done what we had a hard time doing, and we're doing it now. He has united all oppressed people of color. And I would like to say, please, the oppressed must not become the oppressor on either side. We have to be together, otherwise we all go down. And the thing is that we have to overthrow this regime in the midterm elections. I want everybody here to please, I beg you, register and vote. That is our biggest weapon we have. And it's not up to them to dictate to us. They work for us, but they have taken over the regime. Donald Trump learned a good lesson from Nazi Adolf Hitler. Hitler and Donald Trump. Don't forget that the Trump family hails from Germany. They're German stock. And what is German stock? Adolf Hitler. Now, are we going to sit down, take it laying down? Are we going to be divided? Or are we going to work together? Nobody's going to do anything for us except ourselves. And please, audience, we must prevail. Do not forget to register and vote. This is how we're going to overthrow this Nazi regime. Power to the people.
Thank you. Mr. David Irons.
David Irons, resident of Compton. I might become homeless but that's a good thing, because I don't feel like paying my bills anyway. And so therefore, I have more money than I ever had because I'm homeless. I mean, I'll be homeless soon as they kick me out of my house. But I have this committee called Compton, California Historical Landmark Committee, Points of Interest in Tours. And I'm being recorded, so you don't have to write it down. Then I got another one called Compton, California Anti-Gentrification and Anti-Rezoning Committee. That's another one I got. I just have committees. Some people have nonprofit organization, but they won't give me a nonprofit organization status. Then I got another one called, I forget which one. Compton, California Fantasy City. So my stuff is organized. I mean, I went to the county registrar's office. I'm looking over there. It seemed like the time passed by when I started speaking. But, so I have it's not nonprofit, but what I'm saying is I'm try to make Richland Farms a historical landmark. Then I'm gonna go with Fruit Town. I don't know if you know what Fruit Town is, but over there where those people, you stop those people from adding on to their house because, what's the name right here? He said he don't want people living in the garages. But people need a place to stay. Like I said, I'm about to lose my house, but guess what? If it finishes, I have a whole lot of places to stay. But I'm not finished with it. And you all, it's on what they call that, foreclosure. My house is in foreclosure right now because I refuse to pay my mortgage. I ain't gonna do that. So I'm gonna become homeless, and I'm gonna buy a motorhome and park it in front of that guy's house because it'll be legal. Because he's against homeless people. So Robert Ray, I'm parking in front of your house.
Thank you, Mr. Iron.
Yeah.
Mr. Adolfo Veras.
Council? Okay. Council, it's a pleasure finally to attend second time. Sadly, you guys had to cancel the last one. My name is Adolfo Varas. I'm here to introduce myself. I am currently serving right now at the moment as the Executive Director for the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Compton, introducing an event that we're doing this year again that we did last year, our Cinco de Mayo event. Right now, we're going and making prosperous ideas to help bridge the commerce and community together as one. And I'm very excited to join and be part of this city and to help this city prosper and introducing and help uniting our community together as in business-wise as much as anything. And the Cinco de Mayo is going to be from 12 in the afternoon to 6 p.m. If you'd like to know the address, it would be at 2201 Laundry Boulevard in Compton, Tacos El Porte. I'm inviting you guys verbally to let you guys know that this event will be happening, and I hope to see you guys to support your community and your wonderful, beautiful city. At the same time, get to know and see your residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rosa Barajas. Good evening.
Please.
You need a translator?
Yes.
Un momento, por favor. Okay. Okay. He's usually quick.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Good
Mi
afternoon.
nombre es Rosa
My
Barajas.
name is Rosa Barajas.
Con hoy son 5 veces.
With this one, it's 5 times
He venido al City Hall.
that I have come to City Hall.
Por mi calle no pasa la tiquetera ni lunes ni viernes,
On my street,
Monday, Friday.
the ticketing vehicle does not go through neither Monday nor Friday.
Monday y Friday.
Either Monday or Friday.
Both.
Both.
Enfrente de mi casa,
Right across the street from my house.
el sign no se mira para que van a pasar la tiquetera.
You don't get to see a sign claiming that there's going to be this ticket vehicle passing by.
Vine, aquí está la orden que hice.
And I came, and this is the work order request that I made.
Vine en febrero.
I came back in February the 2nd.
Okay. La segunda, ¿cuándo puedo venir a pagar para que pongan el sign de handicap para mi esposo?
And the other thing that I wanted to ask is, when is it that I can come to request once again for the handicap zone for my husband?
Vine en febrero, dijeron que no estaban aceptando aplicaciones.
I came in February, and they said that they were not accepting applications then.
Do you mind just asking her street, the cross streets? She doesn't have to give me her address if she doesn't want.
114 West Cocoa
It's
Street,
114 West Cocoa Street,
Okay.
aquí en Compton.
right here in Compton.
Okay.
Okay.
Mi esposo tiene viviendo ahí 45 años.
My husband has been living there 45 years.
Yo tengo 3 años ahí y siempre estoy tratando de que esté limpia la calle.
I've been living there for the last 3 years, and I've been always trying to keep our street clean.
Well, thank you, ma'am. We are going to follow up. Could we add that to the follow-up list for us for next week? I just want to know where they are in the system.
What is she asking?
They need no parking signs for street sweeping because they're getting tickets without the signage. And then she, okay. Okay, and, yeah. Ma'am, do you have a driveway and a garage? No?
Nada más quiero la calle.
I only wanted it on the street.
Okay, we'll have to send someone out to assess the situation. Is there like a criteria if there's driveway or?
No, está en la calle. Está en la calle.
Could we have someone get her contact information so we can follow up with her?
Dr. McMahon, or Dean, can you come down and just get her contact information so we can go out and assess her property and take a look at it?
And if somebody can go out this
And,
week and let us know before next Tuesday, a week's time?
Aquí tengo la aplicación que vine a
Okay.
Yeah,
Application, the one that
we
I
understand that. We just want to,
Okay.
I just need to assess the property to,
She said in February.
get her phone number and her address.
Thank you. There's, oh, you have it. Thank you, Ms. Rosa. Yeah, if we can just have a record of it if there's a reason why. Pastor Fisher is the next speaker, and then following Pastor Fisher, we have Frederick Gordon, Minister Gordon.
To the mayor and to the city council and to the great citizens of the greatest city, Compton, CPT. I started over 7 years ago an organization called the JT Foundation, and its purpose is really just to connect the young people of the inner city community to a vast amount of resources to make sure that they get into the college of their choice. So this is the third year that we're doing this. This is our third annual college summit that is happening April the 28th, which is the last Saturday of this month from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the reason why I'm announcing this is because we really need the citizens of Compton to come out. Greater Zion, of course, takes advantage of these resources, but I really want Compton to come out, so I know people are watching, and those that are in the audience, if you could spread the word. Assemblyman Mike Gibson will be our keynote speaker, and the entire day we have a connection with the Cal State University system, the Cal State University chancellor, and the president of the UC system. And so what we're able to do is really put your son and your daughter in the face of the individuals that can actually get them into the school of their choice. So since we started this about 2 years ago, our dropout rate in our church has gone down to 0, and that this is literally the second year in a row where every single person that graduated from high school, and we had over 25 or 30 students that graduated from high school, were able to get into a Cal State University or a UC of their choice, hands down. They've all received at least 2 or 3 acceptance letters, because as we all know that in our country, it's not really what you know, it's who you know. And so by putting them in the face of those that actually run the admission process, they're remembering our young people, and they're helping them to get everything in order so that they can go to the school of their choice. So it's April the 28th, 2018 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Workshops will be there for the junior high as well as the high school students. All parents are welcome to come, or grandparents or aunties or uncles, or if you pretend to be their parent, we want you to come. We want the city council, if you could, come out as well if you're available. And you can register at jtfoundation.us. That's jtfoundation.us. Or you can call the number 213-797-0051. That's 213-797-0051. 0051. We're partnering with Pizza Studio. We're partnering with Anger Me Not to teach them the skills and social skills to be able to pass their interviews, how to write the essays and such. And also it will be a bilingual event. So every person that speaks Spanish, you can come, because we will have interpreters there on site so that you can get all the information. Flyers are in the front. We've also mailed all of you all out. I see you taking notes. You don't have to. It's going to be in your mail and in your email. And that's my time. Thank y'all so very much.
Thank you, Pastor Fisher, and we will help spread the word for this great event. Reverend Frederick Gordon.
Good evening to the mayor, to the city council, to the citizens of Compton. Frederick Gordon, live in District 2. First, I wanted to say thank you for paving the streets and putting the lines on the streets. So now we don't have to bob and weave and know which way which aisle to drive in. So I want to say thank you for that. Compton Ave looks really good. Thank you for that. The second thing I wanted to get up and talk about was last week I didn't get up, but I did attend council meeting, and I wanted to address my, if possible, if you will, I wanted to address my councilmen, but unfortunately for some reason pops in, pops out, and I find that problematic because when I have questions, I can't seem to get them answered, and he doesn't answer email, he doesn't answer phone calls, he doesn't have office hours, so it's kind of hard to get in touch with him. I do understand that he has hired a new young man to kind of take on the connecting between him and the constituents in his district. However, because of the fact that I want to talk with him, that still hasn't come to fruition. So I wanted to bring up this proclamation proclaiming April 7th as Easy E Day. I find that problematic. I don't understand why. I don't even understand the essence or the premise behind it. So I wanted to find out from him what gave him that wonderful idea to have a proclamation for an Easy E Day. So many other people that we could honor and give a day to, and Easy E is the person that he chose. I just kind of wanted to find out where that came from. And then lastly, I have yet to still hear about any kind of meetings, any kind of town hall meetings in our district. I think it was great. It was wonderful that he did the Easter basket thing. I think that was great that we have events, for holidays, but after the holidays are over, nothing happens in our district, and I think that I, as well as the other constituents in our district, have a problem with that there's nothing else going on in our district outside of some, fancy holiday thing, and we get music and baskets and, thank God for the turkeys and the Christmas gifts. But I think that we should offer our constituents, or the constituents should be offered, something more than just holiday things to be put on. So I'm requesting yet again, I know that it's really nothing that you all can do per se, but maybe you can request on my behalf that we have some kind of town hall meeting in District 2 somehow, some way. And again, Madam Mayor, you heard me ask if it wasn't a year ago possibly about bringing together the Latino community and the Black community. That still has not happened. So I don't know what to do from here, but I just kind of wanted you all to hear my standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Antoinette Williams.
Good evening, Madam
Good
Mayor
evening,
and
ma'am.
council members. I wanted to address the issue. I'm a homeowner in Compton, and I am addressing an issue about Avalon. From Avalon, from Rosecrans, past Redondo Beach Boulevard, all of the mobile homes that are parked and sprawled along that way. You have so many homeless people. They have barbecue pits out, and it's just a public health and safety issue. They're putting feces out, throwing garbage out. There are children that have to go to school. People have to walk past there. They're increasing the crime rate, and I just want to know what is going to be done. I understand that there's an issue with homelessness. I myself at one time was homeless, but by the grace of God today, through hard work and determination, I'm a homeowner, and I live in a community that I would like to be safe in. And I also have worked with transitional facilities. I've had transitional facilities, and I know that there are plenty of facilities out there. I'm really concerned because in areas like Santa Monica, Culver City, even Inglewood, they have permit parking. You don't see this stuff in those communities. And I don't think that it's fair that our community has to put up with this type of situation. When to me, although I'm sure there are other solutions, but in my mind, there's simple solutions, street signs. You could, if you can't park all night, you can't camp out and make yourself, a home on the streets. I have to pay for sewage. I have to pay for garbage pickup. These people don't have to do that. They get to park there, they get to throw their garbage out, and they get to make this dangerous for our children and women and men to even have to walk along that pathway at night. And I don't think that it's a good thing. I spoke with the parking enforcement supervisor, and I also called Mark Ridley Thomas's office and made a complaint. But I just don't know what to do next. I was going to probably try to get petitions from some of the neighbors, because I just think that we shouldn't have to live that way. Right. Orange County and everyone else is saying, not in our community, then why does it have to be in my community?
Right. Well, thank you, Ms. Williams, for coming down. The area that you indicated is actually in the county. It's not in the city of Compton's borders, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And I've seen an increase in mobile home just being parked there and all the other issues. And so I would just ask that we reach out to Mark Ridley Thomas's office and find out what is their response or plan for that area, since it does impact our residents and it is on our borders. and see if we can get a written outcome, because with the passing of Measure H, there is additional funding for housing, supportive housing, and so they're in the process of doing the whole master plan, and so we need to understand what the impact is for our area, what type of resources will be targeted for this area to deal with these issues, and to just ensure that they understand the magnitude of the issue on Avalon, because, I mean, the second district is very large, and we really want to make sure that our residents are not impacted by those issues. And so, and I know it is a health and safety hazard, and so we will reach out to the supervisor's office and see if we can get a response and also share that publicly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for coming down. Yeah, we can send a letter to Carly Katona with his office. Mr. Holyfield.
Good evening to the mayor, city
evening,
council,
sir.
staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benjamin Holyfield, and I'm the president of the Compton Business Chamber of Commerce. And we have been going over the state report concerning the audit, and we have some recommendations. Number one, we want to stop all unnecessary spending, only the spending that is a priority for. And then we'd like to get rid of all the unnecessary personnel and hire just those that are needed. We would like to do that. I feel that we're sort of top-heavy in some areas, in some other areas we're not. And then we want to respond more quickly to the people. Like tonight, several people come up and then they spoke, and we're going to be addressing the needs. A lot of times in the past, we didn't do that. People would come here and speak, and that would be it. I'm happy to see that things are changing. And also, we'd like to fix all the potholes very quickly. We want to use those that are priority and pave the streets that's needed in areas. My car, for instance, I'm having terrible challenges with my car even from all these holes, and I've been here for a number of years. So I should know all the holes after over 50-some years. But I'm having some challenges. So we would like that to happen. And then we want to be able to pay the bills as they come in. Pay the bills that so that people get their money from the city. We should have some priorities on that. And then we would like to have a report from the treasurer office, from the controller's office, and I know he's honoring that. He's been here a long time, and before him was his father. So that's 40-some years in the city. So he certainly understands what I'm talking about. The treasurer's office, the controller's office, we had a sign there, and they took that down at least once a month. And let us know the balance. We, the people, we would like to know that. And then we want the mayor and the city council, the city attorney, the city treasurer to work together. The only way we're going to come out of this situation is going to have to be about a little bit of love. You see, someone mentioned earlier that somebody was missing. All this kind of stuff has got to stop. We will not get out of anything unless we're all in unity. We will not get out of it. We must have these treasury reports, these controller reports, in our balance. And I think that the council should follow up with all the recommendations that the state had. Thank you very much. That's the people's request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holyfield. And regarding the potholes and some of the street repairs, I'm just going to ask that the city manager provide a quick verbal update under the city manager's report. The council has requested that an item come forward, and he is working on that, and it should come forward to us in the next 2 to 3 weeks regarding citywide pothole repair and a long-term solution that will stabilize our streets. So we'll ask the city manager to provide a quick verbal update on that and give you an estimated timeline of when that's coming to the city council for our review and approval. And then also just a verbal update on the status of Central Avenue as well. Thank you. Ms. Maria Villarreal.
Buenas noches, María Villarreal, Mayor, City Council, tonight it's a new day, a new beginning for the Latino Chamber of Commerce. And I will not stop mentioning that because every day is a new day. I'm so happy and so blessed that we have a young gentleman to come in and work with us and do what we love to do, no matter what. But tonight, I also wanted to say something about how we're doing things here in Compton. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. You were the residents voted for you to be there. Your job, you should know your job. Do your job. I know my job at the chamber, and I do my best. But I'm saying this to say that there's a lot of things, a lot of work that we need to do in Compton. I hear the speakers, and I hear all the necessities of the people. And city attorney, you know what they're talking about this, the street vendors. We've been talking about that for years, talking about residents, that fixing the cars and the property. All these complaints, all these concerns, it concerns us because we live in this city. It might not concern to some of you because you don't live in this city. It breaks my heart when people come and talk about what they going in their streets, and nothing is being done. All what I hear is that people come in and blame each other for what you're doing. They go up there in the community and blaming the mayor about everything. We all responsible for our city, not just the mayor. There's 4 districts, and each council person should be responsible for your district, not only for your residents, but also for your business, for the education, even if you're not representing the school district, but you should be concerned about your district. You should know how many liquor stores you have in your district. You should know how many churches you have in your district. But you only come out and and you're interested in knowing what's going on in your district when you're running for a seat. And that's sad. That's sad because we are a community that we are hungry to be represented by the right people. I know that you have other things to do, but most of the time we're missing 2 council people. In my street, there is a lot of graffiti, there's a lot of issues. In District 1, a lot of trash. Things are going bad. It is going worse. Let's look at your district and look what you can do for your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. Ms. Diana Medell, representative for Assemblymember Mike Gibson's office.
Good evening. My name is Diana. I'm with Assemblymember Mike Gibson's office, and I have another grant opportunity for the community. The California Student Aid Commission is accepting grant applications from California-based public nonprofit universities, colleges, school districts, county offices of education, community-based organizations, and nonprofit agencies. Also accredited private vocational or technical schools. And they're opening up this grant for the California Student Opportunity and Access Program. And that program was established by the California State Legislature in 1978. I forwarded this information to you all to make sure that you please share it with our community. Again, this is free money for our community organizations, our schools. The main goal of this grant is to do outreach and build partnerships between elementary and secondary schools with institutions of higher education. So it's basically getting all our elementary school kids aware of college and further career options. So this grant opportunity is due on April 30th. So it is crunch time. There's only a month, but we really want to encourage all of our community organizations and schools and school districts to apply to this grant. And the grant money is given based on the proposal. So whatever you ask for is what you might just get. So wanted to share that with you, and if you can please share it with your community and your constituents, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that invaluable information. Ms. Joyce Kelly.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Joyce Kelly, and I do live in the 3rd District. I too want to know, and I hope you guys don't go along with any Easy E day in Compton. We're trying to clear it up. I mean, why? Let him rest. I saw on Facebook where they were talking about the 31 guns that were missing in Compton. Comedians are on Facebook. Someone said, didn't they give the key to the city to Kendrick? Mr. City Manager, I am disturbed and I'm upset. Mayor and Council, there's a woman over in Dollar Hyde who's beating up on people, assaulting, physically assaulting people. And I did write a letter. I mean, you know, I gave you a copy too. But how can you not see and understand that people are getting killed with guns for doing nothing? Seniors are being abused, physically abused at Dollar Hyde. And to sanction, what is 3 months? I'm talking about assault and battery. I described it. I'm talking about false imprisonment. When the senior wanted to leave, the person put her arms out and blocked her path. Senior abuse on a person, on a senior with a mental problem that everyone is aware of. How long is she going to be out, Mr. City Manager? This person had cussed out people, threatened people, got rid of the preacher, and still there. People were supposed to have been talked to or investigated about what was going on. But I tell you one thing, it's good it didn't happen to me. Because you could say, or people say, they may say, I have the short woman syndrome. But you know what? Something needs to be done. A man was accused of touching a woman's breast about 7 years ago. He hasn't been back to the center yet. And for someone to physically abuse a senior with a mental problem. So I need you guys, and I'm going to tell the people, if this person comes up and does harm to you, I want you to sue City Manager Cecil Rambo, because I'm sure that none of the council members or the mayor has told him to let it go. Give a slap on the hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Yes, ma'am. And if there are any other members of the public, would you like to speak? You can come directly after Ms. Boone. Thank you.
Lynn Boone, City of Compton. To all people of Compton, you have the right to speak at a public meeting without signing up. You know, I just don't understand. We cannot afford this city council anymore. Pothole repair is not good enough. Miss Asia Clinkscale Brown ran on, and I still have the flyers there at home. Vote for me. I have money to repair and replace not one, not two, but every street in the city of Compton. We need to start holding these people that are running for office and these elected officials to what they say. 2 weeks ago, there was a presentation on giving land away. I came up here and before you and before the people of the city, and I asked, what does vacate and vacation mean? The director specifically told me to give land away. Now, last week, when Mrs. Brown asked the city attorney to explain it, he claims that that's not what it means. But he was here 2 weeks ago when that presentation was on, and he did not open his mouth. I don't know if there's a ring in your nose or a string on your head, but you are no longer the city attorney. If you're Mrs. Brown's attorney, that's fine. Then you need to start collecting money from her. And the Easy E Day, whatever. But it's a shame that not one of you council members have recognized Mrs. Arsenault. Not one. Not even a card or nothing here. And it's shameful. The land of Compton is being given away each and every day. That audit is not a joke. The audit is true. And in the audit, it states on several occasions how the assets of the city of Compton have not been really put in place or are not being acknowledged. So we have property that's being given away, that people are taking and living on, that we don't know. So, you know, it's just pitiful here that you're going to try to give more land away. I don't understand. The other thing that I want to say, 6 and 7 is just item 6 and 7 is just another smoke screen to cover up, to keep them from addressing the main issue, which is the maintenance of the city. And the city manager should be on this agenda to be reprimanded in regards to this gun, these guns that are missing. He no longer needs to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
F. Hernandez. We continue on a pothole-riddled path, marred by unfilled promises and cracks of mistrust in you. I have yet to find one of you to stand up and take true and genuine action. I said it last week, I will repeat it again. There's a running joke by the city council about a street survey that is a few years old. This is as absurd as me talking to you, waving my 2014 blood results and telling you I'm just as healthy as before. Or me waving my 2014 bank statement and belligerently telling you that I have the money of today and yesterday. I would like to know if the city council will adopt any policies and when. You mentioned in your responses to the state you would. That's not the same as adhering to an actual date. I'm asking for the quote-unquote 5 W's here. Each one of you has asked for reports and presentations by the city manager and by the city attorney. Last year, after my comments, Ms. Brown asked the public works director to give monthly street repair updates. Nothing happened. Last week, Councilwoman Zarita requested a report and ultimately made a comment. I'm going to keep asking until I get a response. This is ridiculous. The grace period of, I wasn't here, it wasn't me, I'm new, is over, Mr. Rambo. Where are the reports? Does anyone respect this council or us, the residents of Compton? City council, each one of you has a pen. One of you bought a fancy, unnecessary Mac from Best Buy a few months ago, maybe to run for Congress. Well, use it. Why don't you put it in writing and formally request action on the agenda? This isn't a novel idea. Councilman Galvan did it today with the Easy E proclamation. No comment. You can write some more. Roll up your sleeves. I'm not sorry that your actual salary is $600 a month because you ran your elections knowing that amount. It's common sense, but someone clearly is lacking concern. There's a lack of oversight by this council, and I've mentioned before in my previous remarks, passed way before these state findings. I'm a resident. I'm not representing anyone else but us. How could I have noticed this on my own? I looked outside. You don't wait for things to fall in your lap. What item today addresses crimes, potholes, state findings, budget? Who on the council will be brave enough to challenge the use of city funds, times, resources, and also staff to pay for Ms. Brown's congressional seat? Agenda item 4, I understand the program, but we aren't getting the best bang for our buck. We're paying $65,000 to have people come here, maybe because they don't want to drive the potholes. I appreciate you not having the stanchions anymore. They're additional roadblocks to our city government.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak after Mr. Henry? Okay, thank you.
Craig Henry, resident of the city of Compton. I've said it once, and I shall continue. It's time for healing. accusations as far back as December 18th, 2017, by individuals with no proof. I deal with facts. We all know there are potholes, but a lot of them are being filled. I've seen it. We talk about what isn't happening, but let's take just a little time to talk about some of the things that are happening in the city of Compton. If a person decides to run for Congress, it's their privilege. If you decide to run for council, it's your privilege. If you decide to run for mayor over and over and over again, it's your privilege. But it is not right to continually come up here and demean the city, knock the city, say what the city isn't doing. Every single person on that dais only has one vote. And it takes 3 to make a difference. But we always talk about, let me throw it out there, the mayor and her potholes. It takes 3 votes for anything in this city. I've heard people say, this person is responsible, but in the same sentence they turn around and say, she only has 1 vote. Let's keep some facts going around here. The citizens of Compton, as I said many years ago, and I will say again today, we are not ignorant. We are highly educated people. Some of us are doctors, lawyers, PhDs, masters. All of that sits in this audience today. And it's not fair to continually demean a city that I love. Let's come up with solutions as a team, as a community. Of course, there are some people that say we need town hall meetings. Yes, we do. But we also need healing in this city. It's time. It's not about an election coming up. The people up there were elected. People have been tried to be recalled. All of this has gone on. They're still up there. Let's come up with a solution to work together to make Compton the great city that it is. And the reason that we're a great city is because of the citizens who live in this city. That's who we are. Great.
Madam City Clerk?
We have consent agenda.
Consent items are routine and expected to be non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the council at one time without discussion unless a council member requests for an item to be removed or discussed.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy? Yes. Sharif?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
Item number 5 under...
You know what? I'm sorry. If we can just actually proceed forward. I'm sorry.
Item number 5 is to accept the resignation of Commissioner Makai Ali from the Federal Grants Advisory Board.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 6 under City Manager's Reports is a PowerPoint presentation by Ron Goldman to discuss the potential of converting certain portions of neighborhood streets to neighborhood parks.
Thank you. And while Mr. Goldman comes on up, it's great to see you again. We will give him an opportunity to prepare the presentation.
Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing me to present this program. It is a simple but far-reaching proposal for a master plan of walkable parks throughout the city's residential neighborhoods. Briefly, regarding my background, I've been involved with architecture and urban design for 55 years. We've done a variety of work, including residential, commercial, educational architecture. And I also headed a 12-man construction crew for 17 years, and developed and built a number of commercial and residential properties. These sketches suggest the character and benefit these parks would have in our neighborhoods. With urbanization, we've done an exemplary job in designing physical activity out of our daily lives. With over 30% of urban communities paved with asphalt, there is a substantial portion of residential streets that are unnecessary for emergency or residential access. Streets impact all of us, and we have a great opportunity to rethink our streets. Streets can knit us together instead of separating us. Imagine transforming unnecessary streets into vibrant gathering spaces. And imagine a city where no one lives more than a 10-minute walk from a park. In addition to boosting physical activity, these parks with programming can also address psychological and social well-being. Neighborhood parks taking the place of streets will bring children together, families together, cultural and ethnic groups together, and these connections are irreplaceable. And time spent in open space near our homes will produce stronger and safer neighborhoods. This illustrates the basic concept of locating walkable parks within 5 to 10 minutes of every home without crossing a major street. In this case, I'm referring to a residential neighborhood as the area defined by perimeter collector streets, and generally consisting of 1,000 to 1,500 homes and 3,500 to 5,000 residents. Within each neighborhood, a pair of parks would be located on half-block or full-block side streets without interfering with residential or emergency access, as I've confirmed in meetings with fire and police departments. In larger neighborhoods, 2 pair of passive and active parks would be developed. In the passive park, a petting zoo with farm animals and community gardening will put children in touch with nature and provide the opportunity to learn and take pride in growing nutritional food. Playscapes will tap into children's imagination, and a community resource pavilion, a bulletin board, and a portable lending library will support art, music, educational, and vocational endeavors. The active park can boost physical health, where running, jumping, and swinging can counteract too much television. In addition to soccer, fitness, or dance classes, they provide a location for community events and gatherings. And through neighborhood school programs, children can be involved in the elements of this park design, with the added pride that I helped make this. This is a sample of the diversity of art projects that could bring to the parks by either Compton artists or local school programs. Who owns the streets? I should say there are park issues which need to be asked and answered. Who owns the street? Does the city have a transportation easement with fee ownership belonging to adjacent property owners? If so, a reasonable payment can either buy fee title or an expanded easement agreement. Who will own the park? Public Works, the Parks Department, or initially private nonprofit? Where noise and privacy are issues, budgets are provided for side yard fencing, landscaping, or even replacing second floor windows with acoustic glass. Regarding drugs and crime and homeless, park design will avoid concealed areas and provide night lighting, cameras, fencing, and automatic gate locks, along with police surveillance after hours. And neighbors will provide eyes and ears as well. Cameras added at the Vermont Square Library in South LA quickly solved the problem of vandalism in the surrounding area. Half-block or full-block closures will not interfere with police and fire access, and cul-de-sacs discourage drive-by crime. Moreover, these neighborhood parks will aid significantly in community policing. The 18 residential neighborhoods highlighted in yellow would have a total of 38 parks. The 8 other neighborhoods already have existing parks or school playgrounds. Outlined is a $242,000 budget for a single park, with design and management costs bringing the total to $330,000. The entire program could be realized for $12.5 million, which represents $2.5 million per year if this program were spread over a 5-year period. A $50,000 budget for operating and maintenance is suggested for each park, and the design fees outlined assume retaining a landscape architect and a civil engineer. Any ongoing involvement of myself and my staff has been and will continue to be strictly pro bono. Mayor Brown asked me to initially suggest some typical sites, and I'm suggesting 7 that are spread throughout the 4 council districts. These locations provide typical examples of what can be done throughout the approximately 26 neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods in Compton. Some sites have few trees, some have none. Some sites have existing property line walls or fencing, and some need to be added. And some sites need curb cuts, relocated, as shown in the red dots. And some with garages would be recycled into accessory dwelling units, or garage doors simply relocated. And several sites have the possibility of a full block, as the one on Nestor in District 3. Sites on Palmer, School, and Grandee in District 1 also include a full block between 130th and 131st Streets. These are suggested park sites on Van Ness, Short Oak, and Bradfield in District 2. And these sites on Cypress and Laurel in District 4. With these parks costing only $330,000, there are a wide range of funders to appeal to, eager to support inner-city youth, recreation, health, education, and the environment. There are open space and environmental foundations. There are athletic teams, the Rams, the Chargers, Lakers, Clippers, the Galaxy. There are athletes, Venus and Serena Williams, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, all have foundations. And athletic equipment companies, Nike, Adidas, New Balance. Commercial foundations, individual philanthropists, and prominent Compton individuals, Kendrick Lamar, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. Obtaining matching county park funds is possible, or developers needing to offer community benefits. With regard to yearly operating expenses of $50,000, local businesses or commercial entities with their foundations, such as Walmart, Target, Home Depot, McDonald's, or Ralph's, would benefit from the publicity of sponsoring several parks for 10 or 20 years. There are substantial city benefits from such a program, from community policing to naming opportunities for family members, historic figures, or current luminaries. The soft surface playgrounds involve simple construction techniques and local employment opportunities. And this would be a logical extension of the Clean Compton initiative by introducing art and nature into neighborhoods. Neighborhood groups would define their needs and gain a sense of pride and community. This would become the model for urban communities throughout the country in changing our street culture into a true community culture. The neighborhood buy-in process would include meeting individually, first with the 4 property owners and renters most affected, and then another plus or minus 12 adjacent owners. Following their support, bilingual mailers would go out to all properties within the neighborhood, inviting them to 1 or 2 successive weekend meetings on a Saturday and Sunday at the proposed park locations with descriptions and illustrations. And meetings would be scheduled with community groups, including local PTAs and churches. Finally, a public forum would take place before the City Council for the project's final approval. I would imagine the timeline for the initial pilot project would be 6 to 9 months for design and community buy-in, followed by another 6 to 9 months for permitting and construction, or a total of 12 to 18 months, with possibly temporary events and gatherings during this construction phase. Following the pilot project and based on its acceptance in the community, the timeline for design and community acceptance for subsequent parks would be reduced to 4 and 6 months each for permitting and construction. In completing the overall program, I anticipate 3 to 4 active and passive parks each year, and completing the program of 18 tandem parks within a 5-year period. The last exhibit is the Overland Avenue Public Elementary School. In 1973, when my children were 7 and 10, there were no soft surface play areas, only asphalt. Over 5 weekends, parents with jackhammers, picks, and shovels built a bridge, an amphitheater, balance beams, and benches, all with donated materials, including pre-drilled lodgepole pines and recycled blocks of asphalt into climbing mounds. In summary, this is about the social aspect of architecture. It's about creating green spaces that will reduce the violence in our neighborhoods and improve the health of our families. It is about changing our street culture into a community culture. These parks will bring families together and neighbors together, diverse cultures together, and neighborhood children together. Children need to exercise both mind and body, and these parks will provide this opportunity. These parks can provide ladders of opportunity for adults as well as children. They will provide nature, recreation, health, and educational benefits, jobs, and community pride. They will provide family time together and allow you to feel safe in your own neighborhood. We need to reimagine and repurpose what we have by introducing nature back into our paved environment. Nothing is more sustainable than repurposing existing infrastructure. Recreate to recreate, and all this can be realized with minimal time and at no cost to the residents or the city. Thanks for listening, and I hope and look forward to working with you in creating a precedent for other communities to follow across the county and eventually throughout the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. And I just would like to ask a couple of questions. And thank you for the presentation and for the time that it put into making recommendations for the council to consider. If you can just give us just a little bit about your background. You're very modest. I know that you have been a renowned architect for many years, several decades, have received some of the highest honors that can be received by an architect from AIA and the like, and you've designed some historic structures in the region. And so if you don't mind just talking maybe about 1 or 2 projects that are near and dear to you that people can identify with, just to understand the magnitude of your firm, and then where you are in your personal career and why you want to embark on this project in Compton.
Well, Mayor, that's a large order.
You can do it.
I mentioned briefly how I got started with the Overland Avenue project, and I think I've always had a feeling that our built environment and our natural environment, and whether you're in urban areas or suburban areas or pastoral areas, need to be more involved with each other. And to see our streets, when you realize our streets are in excess of 30% of the land area, certainly, and more than that in the public realm. They're a huge part. I think that's what, I don't know, bred my interest in, I taught a class at SciArc and sent students out to 15 different council districts in the city of Los Angeles and began to realize how streets could be converted without interfering with emergency and public access. I think my background in development has also helped a lot. I have developed over 20 projects, and as I mentioned, I ran a construction crew for 17 years. So I do have a sense of the economics of construction, the possibilities. When you ask me about projects we've designed that have incorporated landscape and the environment, I don't know, not one particularly. We try to do that with every project, frankly. And I think the spirit of the public realm is sorely missed these days. Traffic usurps it. Buildings that don't buildings that respond to eking out every square foot of income. There's a saying that I always remembered when I was in school, that good design is good economics, and that pertains to both a building as well as a neighborhood as well as a city. And I'm not sure I've answered that question clearly, but
Well, thank you. And I just want to open the floor if my council colleagues have any questions about the presentation or any components of the design.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So these areas that you're talking about developing, how would they be maintained without the assistance of the city?
I'm sorry, how would they be maintained?
How would they be maintained?
Well, I think there would be a budget for maintaining both the maintenance and the operating expenses, whether it's the cost of utilities, whether it's the maintenance of the grounds. And there'd be a budget for that. In looking into this, it seems that it's realistic. You'd be talking about insurance as well, and running programs. I think a part of this, an important part of this, is the programming, and there's costs involved in that. And about $50,000 should cover those costs per park per year. And I think there's enough sponsors, whether it's the large open space foundations or it's the foundations that Vaughn's and Ralph's has, that Walmart has, that would be interested in public relations, saying, I will provide that money for a 10 or 20-year period. $50,000 a year is, for 10 years, is $500,000. A donation of $1 million would theoretically cover those costs for a 20-year period.
Okay, well, would we be able to utilize the parks that we already have, or the pocket parks that we already have that exist in the city?
I'm sorry, with the pocket parks you already have?
The parks, or the pocket parks that are already here in the city, would those be candidates for these locations?
Well, I think in surveying every neighborhood in Compton, I think I've found, as I say, about 38 possibilities, and that didn't include the existing pocket parks, but they certainly could be melded into the program. You know, for instance, I've talked to AYSO. They love this program. They would love to have ongoing classes at the different parks, teaching soccer for 8 to 12-year-olds. There's a wonderful foundation that brings Shetland ponies around. In Compton, there's your own community gardening. And I talked to her, and she would love to be part of this program. But there are other, there's a whole range of programs possible.
Okay, so the parks that
and I mentioned mostly at no cost. AYSO is no cost. The community gardening is no cost.
Okay, and so then this is possible for the parks that we already have also, right? Is that what you're saying? We can...
Yes, the idea here would be to establish, I don't know where these parks that you're referring to are, but hopefully they're within the residential neighborhoods.
Well, I have 4, yes.
And, you know, and would be part of this concept.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And I think the idea, I know you presented a very detailed budget, but is to not incur city costs, but to actually have private funding, philanthropic dollars toward this effort to increase green space within the community. Is that the overall goal?
You know, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
No problem. I just wanted to clarify, because I think the question is, you know, where would the funds come from? Is the proposal coming from the general fund, or would these be private dollars that are donated toward this effort? So I think they just want to get clarification. I know within your budget, which you have detailed here, but maybe you can just clarify your role in the project and garnering private support and how the project would be maintained.
I envision all the funding for this would come from outside the city. It would not be a burden on the city. And there are such a range of funders, from large open space funders, corporations, to individuals who, and not to love the idea of establishing a community culture that is oriented toward youth and recreation. It's very appealing. And I think the other thing is that there's no cost to the land, and the parks are small. A typical park, you could be spending $3, $4, $5 million. When I was doing some research in the city of Los Angeles, I was on St. Andrews and asked a woman walking by with her young girl whether she would like to see a park in this half block. And she said, that would be wonderful. I live around the corner, but are you aware that there's a county park 3 blocks south? And I said, yes, I'm aware, but that park is across Manchester. And she went on to say that I don't allow my child to go there because of the problems in a large park, that you deal with drugs and crime. And a park like this, is much easier to manage.
Thank you. Yes, Councilwoman Sharif?
Madam Mayor, he made a statement. He said, I believe what he showed us is that it's 38 possibilities. Does that mean that you're going to do 38 parks? And if not, how will this be selected? What would be the selection process for having it done?
Forgive me, I just got some new hearing aids and I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay. Where is on? You said that you've given us 38 possibilities for the different parks. My question is that are you doing all 38? Or are you saying that we have 38 possibilities? And if so, how would that be selected? Would there be a selection process? Or how would you be determined as to where you're going to put those parks? You understand what I'm saying?
Which parks?
Yeah.
Which sites?
Yeah. You're saying a possible 38, but I don't think you're talking about doing all 38, are you? Are you talking about doing all 38 parks?
I think initially I would anticipate there'd be a pilot project that would consist of an active and passive park. And which of the 4 districts that might be in, I'd almost have to leave that up to, I assume, to the council.
Okay.
But I think after looking at the entire city, there are possibilities in every district.
Okay, thank you. Now, also the reason I'm looking at this is because in a lot of the districts, I know we have small spaces and land that can't be utilized, or where it's too small for you to build on anything. And I had an opportunity to take a look at what the county did there over on Washington. It was a very small space there, and they took the park and they turned it into a water park for the students there in the community. Is this your envision of doing something similar to that? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, I think I think the design, first of all, the design of the parks can be very different one from another. Certainly the passive park should be different from the active park. But I also think that neighborhood should participate in what they would like. If, for instance, there happens to be a school nearby or a county or city park nearby, maybe there's something different on that park than another neighborhood. So I see this as a neighborhood process, participating, asking questions. As an architect, that's the way I like to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so one more question, Mayor. So before anything would be decided, that you would give the residents the opportunity to even decide whether they wanted it in their area? Is that right?
Yes.
Because I know some of the residents will have a problem with losing some of the parking and all of that, so, yes.
Well, it's interesting when you drive around, and there is a lot of parking on the side streets. But surprisingly, when you see the parking on the side streets, there's not a lot of curb space taken up on the frontage street. So at best, these half-block parks would replace 4 or 6 parking spaces. move them to the front. I'm talking about curb spaces, not on-site spaces. Where there's another opportunity where there are no garages in the back of the park, you could replace the 4 or 6 spaces with, I think it was on one of the sketches, where there could be a row of 4 or 5 parking spaces at the last 20 feet of the park as kind of a dead end
Like perpendicular
parking aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has to be looked at individually in each site.
Thank you. And I know I
Each
have-
site is different, incidentally. There's one marvelous possibility, and there's a block-long park, and there's only one curb cut, one driveway leading to a garage. The options there, with state law allowing, and I assume the city of Compton allows accessory dwelling units, and the possibility of that one party accepting, turning the garage into an accessory dwelling unit, not at their expense, at the expense of the project. So I think, whether it's that or whether it's repositioning driveways on the frontage street in some locations.
Thank you. I think it would be helpful, and I know you gave the council an extensive copy of the presentation and the paper copies, but maybe to work with our city staff and identify maybe one potential pilot project in each district that would be minimally invasive to the residents, and then perhaps we can coordinate like a town hall with the council person and really assess whether or not the residents want this in the community, and to really talk about what some of the impacts would be, and also potential programming, so that we don't waste your time or a lot of time really going down a road that the residents may not want. They may love it, and they may be really excited about it, especially areas where they have children or different things like that. But I think it could be helpful to really look at some sites within each district that would require minimal alterations with parking, that could really kind of keep the existing parking ratio intact with some of the perpendicular parking that you just described, and that way we can target some small community meetings with the neighbors and just see where they are with the concept.
In terms of community buy-in, I did have one incident on Bradfield. I parked there and I was looking at 2 possibilities, and there were 2 young fathers with their children out on the corner, and I went up to them and asked them, whether they would see this as a benefit or a liability, and they were totally enthusiastic. Now, I'll tell you a story in Santa Monica when I had asked a friend of mine who's an activist, and asked her what she thought about it, and she said, "It sounds wonderful, but not in my backyard." So you can expect, but that's the benefit of finding a pilot project that is acceptable to primarily to the 4 houses that are adjacent to that, and eventually to another dozen that are affected by it immediately. And if that pilot project is well done and well received, then all of a sudden that resistance will go away, because it's been shown that property values and only increase with this type of facility.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goldman. So we look forward to getting the pulse of the community and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for coordinating the presentation. Yes, I have a couple items. I know you're going to give the report on the streets, and there was a statement made that we have not had departments reporting on their actions, and that's not correct. We have had several departments come up with a full report of what's happening within their departments. This request was made several months ago, and I thank the city manager for providing the council with the full schedule, which has been made available also publicly. And so we try to have one extensive presentation per night. And so tonight on the agenda, item number 7 is the Water Department's presentation, which was pre-scheduled, and we'll continue to have additional departments provide a report. Public Works was, I think that was the first department report that we actually had, which was very extensive. We asked several questions, had a lot of issues that we addressed, and we also have a follow-up presentation with Public Works scheduled. And so what is the follow-up date for that presentation? Next week. So Public Works will be back as the council requested. And so it's important, I appreciate when we receive input from residents, but it's also important that we follow up on the information to ensure that when we make requests that it's honored, or that we're actually following up with what we say that we're doing, because these things are actually happening, and sometimes people don't stay until that portion of the presentation to even know that these things are occurring. So I urge everyone to continue seeking information. And so, Mr. City Manager, if you can provide the report on the potholes, and I'm also just going to request briefly that for the last quarter, the council did approve a contract for extensive pothole repairs, and if you can provide a report of the number of potholes filled by that contractor, and then also the potholes that have been filled by city employees at the same time for the council when we bring forward the item for the comprehensive citywide pothole filling, so that we can really understand how many potholes we're talking about and how the potential contract can canopy the entire city to stabilize the streets. Thank you. Yes, the items that we requested.
Mayor and Council, very briefly, the update on the Central Avenue Phase 2, they had a pre-construction meeting on March 22nd, and the contractor has 10 working days to mobilize that construction project. The pothole RFP will be going out this week. It will be out for 3 publication periods, which is approximately 1 week or 3 weeks, so about 21 days it'll be out. We will have, once those RFPs come back, we'll bring that item to you guys for selection. And then also there was a comment about what we're doing with the audits and how we're responding to the state controller's audit. I'm keeping the mayor and council updated on our commission and our committee that we formed. We formed a committee that consists of myself, the 2 assistant city managers, the controller, and the treasurer, as well as our budget officer and one of our analysts in the department.
And the city attorney.
And the city attorney's office, yes. So far, we've actually drafted 5 policies: bus fare passenger count procedures, utility bill lockbox procedures, cash handling procedures, daily audit for cash receipts, and daily deposit procedures, as well as personal storage items when counting money, like backpacks, purses, or any containers while you're counting the money. Once all those are reviewed by the city attorney's office, we'll bring those to the council for approval. And those are all part of the state controller's recommendations. We meet weekly on Thursdays, and as we move forward, next week I'll be doing a very brief PowerPoint presentation on what we intend to do moving forward in relation to finally coming into implementing the recommendations over the years from the past audits as well as from the current audit.
Thank you. And for those members of the public that were not able to attend the last week's council meeting or stay in the entirety, we also requested that the city manager bring forward the state auditor controller's report as well as the city's written response in a presentation format so that the public can be fully aware of the issues that were identified by the state, and also will be fully aware of the city's response and corrective action measures that have already been underway. And so we want to be as transparent as possible. We have nothing to hide. We also ask that this information be posted on the city's website, which it was posted as of yesterday. We received a link through the entire city council. It's on the city's website. You can download the report for yourself. You can download the city's responses for yourself. So all that information is made public. Again, we have nothing to hide. We are dealing with issues of the past, and we are continuing to improve them as they're made aware to us. And so it's important to understand the breadth of the audit, the extent of the audit went back to 2010. I actually thought today that I would even request that we probably go back even a little bit further to really identify the true nature of where the actual deficits came from, because it was reported in the audit that the deficit was reported and put on the city's rolls at a certain year, but this audit was cumulative, which people in City Hall understand that this deficit was accumulated years even before it was identified publicly, because it was from interfund borrowing. And so these things have been going on in the city of Compton for a very long time. We are dealing with them as the information is made aware to us. Nothing happens overnight. You cannot fix an issue that has been, like I said, happening for decades overnight. And so this council has been very just prudent and very aggressive in working with the tools that we have available to us. We passed several financial control that have been brought to us by our former financial team that's already been implemented. And so we're continuing to implement the recommendations that are brought to our attention. And we see the audit as an asset, because we do not have the resources to deploy a $2 million team to stay in the city for 6 months to go through a forensic audit of all the issues that are going on in the city from years past, because we're dealing with the issues that we have for today. And so we're thankful that we have the issues at our hand and at our fingertips, and so now we can take corrective action. We're going to continue to do that. So again, I thank you, Mr. City Manager, and the entire financial team for working on these issues, for the public's information, and we made this public as well, that we will continue to have the city controller on the council agenda on a monthly basis, so that we can continue to follow up on the issues that we have asked her to address, and to make sure that the work plan that we have created together is being implemented. And so you all will continue to see that as well. And we are continuing to utilize the tools that we have available to us to protect the city's assets, which are your tax dollars, our tax dollars. We are all taxpayers. I just want to ask briefly, Mr. City Manager, if you can give a status update on the Public Information Officer process, where we are with that. It's really important to have someone dedicated to providing the information providing information to the public, so that we can really restore our trust. People can have someone that they can get direct, accurate information from. Currently, we have people that are pulling pieces and adding things together that don't connect, and so we need someone dedicated to providing verified information to the public, and it should not be the sole responsibility of elected officials when we are not here to work in that capacity. We are here to work with the tools that the city has, and all cities have a public information office. So we're asking for a public information person that can help work and provide information to the public.
That will be, it's publicated as a RFP for an RFQ for qualifications, and as soon as we select the firm or person for that, we'll bring that before the council. I saw Mr. Jones put something out last week, and it had to be reposted, so there was a little bit of an error in the posting. Okay. So he's going to have to repost that. So if you're interested, if you know anyone interested in doing some public information or doing a PR job here in the city, that will be posted publicly soon.
You've heard it publicly. If you all know of anyone that has a PR firm or that would like to do public information, please reach out to the city, because we are going out for and requesting qualifications so that we can make a selection and move forward. Thank you. And also, I just want to request publicly, Mr. City Manager, you provided the council with a detailed report of the stolen weapons from City Hall, and I'm just going to request that you also agendize a city presentation as to as much information that you can share about what occurred and where we are with the investigation process. We don't want to make it seem like it is a secret. I know that the council was made aware that this vault existed a few months ago. We didn't even know that these weapons were being stored, and there was no city record of the weapons even being purchased, because they were purchased under the guise of another item under a former administration that was trying to resurrect the Compton PD, even after the voters decided that they did not want the Compton PD back. And so this is what those weapons were for. And again, we obviously don't have our own police department here. Many of you remember in 2013, there was an item on the ballot, Measure R, that gave the citizens of Compton the option of keeping the sheriffs forever or permanently, and the people decided to maintain the sheriffs. And so these weapons were purchased years prior. They were being stored off-site. And just put a pin right there, most people believe that all city employees are stored in one city building in City Hall. But we actually, in actuality, like most cities, we have city employees that work on Alameda, actually 2 locations on Alameda, the city yard. We also have the former city hall. We also have city employees that work on Bullis Road. And so city employees are in different locations, which is really standard for most cities. And so this vault was outside of City Hall. There was no actual record of these weapons even existing, and we were made aware that they were stolen after the fact. And so I think that it's important to share the accurate information with the residents that you've provided to us, and then also what the corrective actions will be moving forward, because I personally have a problem with there being weapons in our inventory, and we have city employees that haven't even made that aware to the council or city administration. This city manager has been here for a year. We know that we have city managers that have come and gone, but that information is really pertinent, and that should be shared. And so I would like to know in a written format how that information was not disseminated to the proper channels for proper storage. Yeah, so just as much information as you can. I know that when you were made aware of the issue, you deployed an investigation, you called in the sheriff's department immediately, so I commend you for that, but we need to understand how this even occurred. Because if there are other issues in the past, we've had issues with radios that, were not supposed to be purchased, and there's been a host of issues. And so if there are any other equipment that shouldn't have been purchased, but that was, we should know about it. Because we hear rumors, I've heard rumors about people movers that were purchased and vehicles that were purchased. So can we just have a full inventory of any issues relating to the old Compton PD or trying to resurrect the Compton PD? Thank you. Madam City Clerk?
PowerPoint presentation for the Water Department.
Thank you.
Coming to the podium and to do the presentation are Director Ken Holcomb and Water Manager Michael Harvey.
Good evening, Mayor, Council,
Good evening.
elected officials, staff, and the community. It is our pleasure this evening to bring you the department update for the Compton Municipal Water Department. Part of the presentation will be done by myself, who will start the process, and our interim director, Mr. Ken Holcomb, will take over once I've completed the first beginning. First off, we'd like to tell you a little bit that's kind of important to us, because this is our standard that we hold our employees to and we hold accountable to, and that is our mission statement. And our mission statement is to provide sustainable and reliable supply of safe water to our community, exceeding all state and federal drinking water standards at the most lowest reasonable price.
One second. We have to wait for the quorum to come back.
Oh, I apologize.
No problem. You're on a roll. Our council member just took a quick break. She had to. She had to. Please continue.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, our mission statement is to provide sustainable and reliable supply of safe water to our community, exceeding all state, federal drinking water standards at the lowest, most reasonable cost. I know it's a little bit hard for you to see, but what we want you to see is that if you look in the blue section, right in here, this is Compton Water's area. If you look a little bit to your right, you'll see what's called Liberty Utilities in gray. They're also up here. You also have Golden State Water, which is right here. And down in the green, you have Cal Water. So all of this is within the city of Compton. So there are multiple utilities within, water departments within the city of Compton. And we wanted you to kind of have a little visual, so I do apologize. But we do have it on our website, too, underneath the water department. A little bit more information to you. Compton Water serves approximately 70% of the city of Compton. Liberty Utilities services about 20% of the city of Compton. Golden State Water services about 6% of the city of Compton, and California Water services about 4%. Understand we do have a mutual called Sativa Water, and they service a little bit of Compton, but they're mostly LA County on the outskirts of Compton. So they touch us a little bit, but very low numbers. We've heard a lot of comments in regards to Compton's rate. So we wanted to give you a little comparison in regards to the city of Compton's rates. Liberty Utilities, which is the highest utility in the city, had new rates that the Public Utilities Commission, California Public Utilities Commission, allowed them to put in effect on July of 2007, where their average bill for their residents is $145. I'm sorry, please forgive me, is $143. Golden State Water, which as of January of this year, the Public Utilities Commission allowed them to have another rate increase, which makes their average water about $105. California Water Service, which is the lowest of the three, also had a rate increase by the California Public Utilities Commission, which makes their average bill $95.70.
Mr. Harvey, not to stop you, but could you just explain how the California Public Utilities Commission sets rates for companies and how that contrasts with Compton?
Oh, not a problem, Mayor. The California Public Utilities Commission, because all three of these companies are what are called privately held companies. These companies have stockholders. So because of California law, they have to go through what's called a rate-making process, which they go through every 3 years, just like the gas company and Southern California Edison, where the community that they serve has an opportunity to comment on what they consider their proposed rates that they need for the next 3 years. The rate cycles for all of them are 3-year periods. And in there is an administrative law judge that listens to the public utility company. The public utilities have staff that are there, along with community. They have events where they actually have an opportunity for their customers to come in. The way that they provide notification to all of their customers is they put them in their utility bills, notifying you as an insert that their rates are going up and when they're going up and when you have an opportunity to actually come to an event. Most of you, I can almost guarantee you, because less than 5% of anybody reads the little stuffers that are inside of their utility bills. I'm one of them, so I do understand that. I used to work for Golden State Water, and I went through their process 20 years ago, when they did their rate increase. They had a meeting in Gardena. 4 people showed up. 2 of the people that showed up were there by accident. They thought it was a council meeting. So they have a very easy time of getting their rates passed because there's nobody to actually challenge them in regards to knowing exactly what their rates are. Their rates are structured based off of what they believe they need to do to provide service for the next 3 years, which includes their capital work, their vehicles, their costs for things that are outside of their control, including electricity, chemical, or even purchasing water. All of that's rolled into a package that's provided to the Public Utilities Commission. Once that package is heard, reviewed by staff, that package is then taken by the Public Utilities Commission, and at a public hearing up in Sacramento, they make a decision to either grant the 3-year proposal or modify the 3-year proposal. Understand that the utility companies also have an ability to go back every year because of unforeseen items, i.e. the electricity went up more than they anticipated. They had a well breakdown, so they had to buy more water. So they have what's called the nice way to put it is a fake account, and it's a balancing account. So the balancing account is they're supposed to have that to say, okay, we put $100 million in here, but we spent 120. So they go back to the Public Utilities Commission and say, we spent 20 million more than our balance account. So next year they automatically get that 20 million thrown in their rates, and you now see an additional increase outside of the 3 years. The difference with the city of Compton, and I'd like to say, is those people who set those rates are our council. They listen to staff, and we make recommendations as it relates to what we anticipate our needs are going to be, what our costs are going to be, and we have public hearings, and then the council sits down and we make a recommendation based off of that information. The difference is here, it's a little bit easier to change our rates because council looks at the overall cost. So every year when we set our budget, council looks at, do we have enough money to meet our needs to supply safe and potable water to our community? The one thing that's interesting is the city of Compton has not changed the rates since July 1 of 2012. Council set that rate in 2009, and it had a set of 3 years or 5 years that it would go up. And in that time, the number actually stopped in July of 2012. So as you see, all the rest of them, 17 and 18, have had increases. We have not increased our rate since July of 2012.
This slide also should be shared publicly on the city's website under the water department. Under rates, you should really share this information because a lot of people spread rumors that the city has raised the water rate, and it's just not the case. So if you can make this public, that would be very helpful to all of us.
We'll make this presentation public for the community.
Thank you.
We also wanted to show you that our rates haven't gone up. We've gone through, since 2013, I keep hitting the wrong button, I apologize. Since 2013, we've actually kept our rate standard. And then actually, it's fixed right here, but right around 2012, the council elected to freeze our rates in aspects of our capital improvement, and that charge has stayed steady at $20.16. And we put tier rates in so we could also help our multifamilies. So our rate basically to our community is $2.67 unless you go over 20 units, and then the rate goes to $3.09. But 90% of our residents are paying $2.67. With that joy, I'd like to share with you what I like to call the deal of the century. And the deal of the century is really nice because when we charge you $2.67, we provide you with 748 gallons of water. So let's just make it simple. Let's look at 100 gallons of water and what 100 gallons of things that you and I use on a daily basis, and how does that compare? For 100 gallons of water from Compton, it's 42 cents. If you buy 100 gallons of water, bottled water, it's about $100 depending on where you go. Oh, I also want to tell you, these are rates that we wanted to keep for your information, but these rates go back to 2012. So I wanted to keep that consistent so you could see what 2012, what you would get for 100 gallons. Gasoline, $375, and we all know that has gone up. Milk, $400. If you're an alcohol drinker, beer, $711. But my favorite one is Starbucks coffee, $1,300 for a gallon of Starbucks coffee if you think about just buying a cup every day.
100 gallons.
So we wanted to just give you a little idea. When we talk about our rates are high, we're trying to minimize them and provide you with the best possible rate that we can, understanding that we fall underneath federal and state requirements for our drinking water standards. And so at 42 cents, we are doing the best job we can providing you with this level of service and making sure that we're doing everything we can to provide you with those services that we meet and exceed. I know this is kind of hard to read, and I do apologize, but I'll break it down in pieces for you. This is the average water bill and the way it looks. But what's real important, what we really want you to understand, is what's on that bill. It breaks out into two different sections. One is the customer information, which we want you to understand that we give your service address, we give your customer number, your reference number is how we know where we're reading at. We give you the statement date, so when was the statement actually produced? We also tell you if there are any prior month charges, so what your bill was last month. We also show you what those payments are that we received, and if there's an unpaid balance from that bill. So if you had $122 and you paid $100, it would show that there's $22. In this example, the customer overpaid, so there's 64 cents that's a credit. That's why you have the negative amount there. We also show you when that is due by, because that's a prior month's bill. And then we show you your current chargers and when they are due. And as you can see, this was $125. We also have down here is a graph so that you can see what your usage was last year and the year before, and it goes back to each month. So as you move into that month, so as you get into February of this year, we will show you what February of last year, what your usage was. So very quickly, you could see from a graphic chart how you're doing. The other area that's really important is how did we come up with that information to bill you? And this is your meter information. We give you what your meter number is. Every home and every business has an individual serial number, and that's how our meter readers know where they are to make sure they're reading the correct meter. We also tell you what the date was when your meter was read last and what that read was. When we read your meter currently, what the read was, and as you can see, we tell you what that unit amount was. So that's 11 units of water, so that's times 748 gallons. We tell you what this 1-inch meter, which services this property, the monthly readiness to serve charge is $39. We take the 11 units of water at $267, so that's $29.37. We take the utility users tax, which is 10%, and then we take the capital improvement charge at $21.17. I want you to know that this is all the water information. This doesn't include your trash bill and your sewer bill that goes on it. This is just the water information that relates to this account. So that totals out to $96.97. That's just the water. What's real interesting, a lot of people don't pay attention to, and I apologize, blowing up these things are very difficult to get them in a nice way. But this is the back of your water bill. And the back of your water bill is very important because it has tons of information. On the back of your water bill, right here, it tells you where you can go on the website to pay your bill. Right here, it gives you the phone number to call if you want to pay your bill by phone. Down here is all the pertinent information of our telephone numbers. It also gives you our after-hours telephone number. Even though we are not here in the city, we have our service workers are on call 24/7. So if there's an issue and an emergency, we have a number right down here that you can call so we can address that emergency for you. Our staff is on call to do that. We talk about the fact that we have a capital improvement, which was bonds. In 2009, we took out approximately $42 million in bonds, and we received $34 million of that to do work. From that, we have done 8 mainline projects or mainline replacements that total over 27 miles of pipe. 27 miles of pipe, which is about 17% of our system. Understand we have 156 miles of pipe in this 10.2 square mile city, and we only cover 70% of it. We have 156 miles. So we've done 27 miles over the last 5 years. We've also installed a new well, a new storage tank. We've also upgraded our systems with a new computer management system we call SCADA, which is security control, so that our staff has the state-of-the-art system that from anywhere they can actually see what's going on to the system, they can dial into the system, and they can see if we have major incidents going on where a well is offline or we're having issues with any of our pumps. They can actually see, because alarm goes off, and it actually goes to their phone, and they can actually pull up the system and see what's going on and start right there going and doing work to stop the issue and correct the issue, which is state of the art.
Could you also, maybe provide it to the city manager to share, just the overlay of the miles of pipe that have been repaired on a map?
We can. I had it, but it was way huge, so
Okay,
we will
can get the
gladly
format,
provide that.
just so we can understand overall which areas have been improved and have an understanding of which areas still need to be improved as we think about consistent water service.
We will break it down as a whole, and then we'll break it down in district.
Thank you so much.
We also have put a new treatment plan in, which is up in District 1. We've also put 2 new backup generators at both of our storage facilities. So if we use or lose electricity, we have the ability to provide water to our residents because we have 2 backup generators that will kick our pumps on, so that we would be able to flow water at a safe pressure so that our community would not suffer. We've also put new service equipment in service so that we can better address our valves, our hydrants, and a couple of other opportunities so that we can better serve our community. I wanted to show you, you've seen in this council member where we showed you in this council meeting old pipe and how bad it was. I wanted to show you what a new piece of pipe looks. This is a new piece of ductile iron. So when we talk about a new pipe, the outside of this pipe is steel, but the inside of this pipe is lined. So when we talk about water quality, our new pipe is lined so we don't have the same issues we used to have just putting all steel in. Steel and water are not a good combination. So today, all our new pipe going in is what's called ductile iron steel, and all of that pipe is lined. So it helps to provide us with better pressure. It also helps us provide with better water quality because we have less issues as it relates to water and steel together. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Holcomb to talk about our water quality.
Madam Mayor, council, staff, and water users of Compton, residents, good evening. Mr. Harvey, thank you for putting together this PowerPoint and for that part of it. That was very informative. Mr. Harvey showed us how many improvements Compton Municipal Water Department has made to the network of the water distribution pipelines. Right now, we already begun with the budget development for 18-19 fiscal year, and we are ramping up for more improvements for our facilities to supplement line pressure and better support firefighting. Chief Simpson said that he'll use any water that comes out of the fire hydrant. However, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency and the California Department of Public Health have much higher standards for water that we humans are going to consume. All of our operators have to be certified by California law, and they are certified. I just changed some of my dialogue. In the words of the great Martin Luther King Jr., I want to say, I have a dream right now. Our goal is to have crystal clear pleasant tasting, odorless, good health sustaining water flow adequately from every one of our customers' faucets every time you open that faucet. We have a strategic plan to accomplish that goal, and we're on the road to that now. I'll explain more in a little bit. First, I want to share with you some challenges. Council asks about some challenges that we've had, and we have these challenges every day, trying to reach that goal of that pristine product delivered to your home for 42 cents every 100 gallons. After assuring its potability or the fitness for human consumption, our next highest priority is to keep the water in the pipes. We have problems with leakages in an aging water system. Undersized pipes for the new average-sized families, and the increased commerce and industry since the 1950s and 1960s, when this network was the earliest part of the last building of the whole network. In this case, this fire event can cause such a traumatic, stressful strain on our network of the 156 miles of pipeline, as you might well imagine. Another case where a fire hydrant's used for, abused, not being used for what it was intended for, is when we see this. Sometimes a fire hydrant gets hit by a car and just severed. And what happens then is instantly we have a 6-inch line flowing full volume, and like I said, instantly. And that just causes such a massive imbalance in the distribution system. It causes problems that we're all familiar with. And another everyday occurrence, well, not every day, but it's not unusual. Our water main line breaks. Excuse me. And this can occur we saw the picture of the new pipeline, which Mr. Harvey showed, and that, as compared to the old, unlined, uncoated on the outside, cast iron lines that we're replacing and have replaced these 20 miles of it, 27 miles of it recently. That new smooth cement interior causes the water to flow faster and with less energy used by pumps, electricity used. And main break like this can be caused just from age. After about 70 years of these unlined, uncoated cast iron pipes having water flow through them 24/7, they become very sensitive to temperature changes, pressure fluctuations, and develop small leaks, which they don't get better, they get worse. And we have a lot of old pipe in the system. But be encouraged, we have a lot of new line. I've never seen a statistic like that in a short period of time. 27 miles of pipeline replaced is awesome. The strategic plan I mentioned includes line cleaning, or a lot of people might refer to it or know it as flushing, where the old conventional way was to just spot flush, where if we received a call for unpleasant odor or taste or color, we would go out to that area and flush the fire hydrant in that area. It helped, It just wasn't efficient. American Water Works Association has implemented in the recent past a new, more efficient way of cleaning the lines. It involves flushing fire hydrants, although I'll show you that method in a minute. The example I want to give you of, we have to keep the water moving in the system so it doesn't become stagnant. And a lot of you are familiar with cul-de-sacs, dead-end alleys, where there's just one way in and one way out. We have pipelines that have, in some cases, a no-loop situation where there's a dead end, such as in a cul-de-sac street, where we have what's called flush taps. It can be a small 2-inch line to flush it out periodically, or we'll use a fire hydrant so that we don't get stagnation. And we do that on a regular basis. It's the new system is called unidirectional flushing. It's a best management practice, like I said, that American Water Works Association instituted. I'll show you that sequence after I show you this. You will be seeing more of these posted on your door when we'll be in the area flushing in your neighborhood. They are bright yellow, and they're in English and Spanish, one on each side, and there's a lot of important information here, secrets, tricks you might call them, but that's very important to read, and it has our contact number. So if you ever experience a water quality issue and you are one of our customers, give us a call, please. First, check with your neighbor to see if they have the same problem. It may just be your home. If it's more than just you, then we're happy to come out and take care of the situation in the area. Now, let me explain a little further how this new method works. Unidirectional flushing, it's the new process that's, as I said, more methodical, and therefore it's more efficient, more drought compliant. And the way it works is, and if you can see it, what we do is we take a certain area, we isolate it with certain valves on certain size pipelines, and we draw the water at a certain, at 5 feet per second velocity, which creates a scouring effect, and that equals 1,200 gallons per minute, and that's how we measure it, how much water we use, and that's directed into the smaller pipelines to scour them at that velocity. This uses up to 40% less water. When we first started doing this, when I first started, when I worked in Inglewood a couple of years ago, I think I was about 23. When we were flushing, people always would come out and say, "Why are you wasting water?" And I would do the same thing in my area, where I lived, until we realized this is a maintenance practice that's very important. And now, like I said, we have a more efficient way of doing it, so that we can use less water and use less time. We can gather more data and facts to follow trends and have good record keeping of the health of our system. And also, this means that operators are out there exercising and inspecting those valves that can be then used in the future in case of emergencies. To do this, we're going to be hiring more staffing. When we're fully staffed, we're envisioning 2 crews that will be doing this on an ongoing basis. And we'll have a schedule for each district, when and where the flushing will occur. And we'd like to have 2 crews, 3-man crews, 3-person crews, excuse me, so that we can do this on a semi-annual or annual basis, and like I said, continually all around the city, our service area, I should say. And these activities and duties involved in this critical maintenance function will be having trainings throughout the year for our operators, for planning and training and monitoring. All of these functions, part of this, the unidirectional flushing method, will be trained ongoing. And with that, I could take some questions.
Thank you,
from
Director. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation, a lot of great information for our residents, and I would like to ensure that we can extract the first 1, 2, 3, 4, like the first 4 slides that have data on them and just post them as images or graphics on the website under the Water Department's page. So specifically the service area map, so that people can understand who services them if they have any questions other than getting their bill. Also, the breakdown of the service area information, 70% Compton Water, et cetera. The rate comparison, so all of the effective dates and the stable rate of Compton since 2012. And then also the rate schedule. And if you can add one additional item to the schedule, I know the council approved the change. Well, first we kept the fee stable. We also changed the way that the water bill was calculated for multi-users. And so it really helped to reduce the rate for residents, and it had a larger charge to commercial users. So if we can also include that on the slide.
We will add that information, ma'am.
Okay. I think that was like 2014. That was and then also, I think the breakdown of the bill is helpful as well, because we do get a lot of questions as to why or what comprises residential bills. That is helpful. And we also discussed the mapping of the improvements to the system. So the 27 miles of pipe, and then also the main improvements, if we can actually just put that on the map so people can understand what has been improved. And then I know you all have a specific plan for what will be improved moving forward with the water bond. So if there's just a sample of a scope of work that residents can point to so that they can really see how their tax dollars are being spent.
We will use our mapping software.
Okay.
So that we can do the whole city, and then we will break it down in districts so you can see where the work has been done.
Right, because it's important to understand what's been done, where we are today, and then what's to come. People should be able to have that information at their fingertips.
We will get that on the website as soon as possible.
Council?
Mr. Harvey, do we have a schedule of when our next water line replacement will be?
We are working on the aspect. We have a couple items that have to be done first that are items that came up in our last budget cycle that deal with railroad crossings. So we're going to hit those first because we have some major concerns in regards to those, but that is what we're doing next year for projects. So when we bring out our budget, we will give you a list of the projects we plan to do with the money we have available.
Okay. The mayor already covered the service map. The one that we have on this website right now is not as helpful as this one is, so please add that one. And will you be able to post the schedule for the flushing? Because I know in the 3rd district we've had a lot of brown water issues, and I know it has to do with the flushing. So will we be doing flushing on a regular basis as well as posting on the website? I know you're going to do the door hangers, but will you be able to, I would like for you to post it on the website also so that they can just look and see that it's, you know, their district is upcoming.
We're going to try and post a weekly notice on the website because we might change based off of condition and issues.
Right.
But we're trying to plan 2 weeks out with a week notice of what's going to be happening that week so that our residents can see that along with the door hangers.
Okay. And one of the things Mr. Holcomb mentioned was staff training, but it was mostly for the field crew. I would like to make sure you include staff training for the office. We've gotten some customer service complaints, and so I know that it's helpful. I don't know if everyone has gone through customer service training, and it's really helpful even to refresh the customer service training, because you need to remind the customer service reps that the people who call in and pay their bill pays their salary.
That's right.
Okay.
We have heard that,
Yes.
and we are addressing it, and we're putting it in our budget. We're looking at the next available so we can start moving our staff around, but we're putting it in our budget for next year for ongoing training with human resources to help us better manage those and use our resources wisely.
Okay. Okay, and then also just you as the supervisors, just remind staff that they need to be a little courteous. When someone's calling with their water turned off, they're already frustrated, and so they don't need to hear grief about you should have paid your bill or anything like that. That is unacceptable.
You are correct.
Okay. I think that, when you were doing the flushing, would you just please state when they're doing the flushing, is it any cost passed on to the actual customer?
There's no cost passed on. It is what we call water used in production.
Okay, yeah, but most people think that it adds to their water bill, so, okay. And that's it. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy. Councilwoman Sharif?
Mayor Brown, thank you, but honestly, I thought they covered it very well. And then you guys, the questions that you guys had was pretty mostly some of the same ones that I have, so I'm not gonna repeat my questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I just see one question triggered by Councilwoman McCoy's comments regarding the flushing. So in the presentation, you all recommend that water users run their water for 5 to 10 minutes after the flushing has occurred. And so
we will explain why that is when you take a program and we're flushing, we're trying to clear everything out.
Right.
So what we don't get, when you shut it down, it stops. So sometimes it may be taken in by a resident.
Right.
It normally doesn't take 5 minutes. It's normally 1 or 2 minutes, because once it settles down and it starts to get back to its normal production, there might be something in your 100-foot of line that you might have to clear out, and that's hard for us to know if it's going to happen or not happen. So if you see it, that's why we ask people, run it for a few minutes. If it doesn't clear up, please call us.
we may want to assess or just do like a basic estimate of cost to the residential user of flushing their water line, because we've seen residents come in with their brown water that they've collected, before the flushing has occurred, and that's water that they cannot use but that they're being charged for. And so we should estimate, what is that, how many units does that mean to run your line for 5 minutes, or whatever the recommendation is, and consider bringing back a policy for the council to consider for a rebate for those users, because that's a basic component of maintenance on the system. And the water customers, we're paying already a cost to access fresh and clean water. So if that's a part of the cost to access that fresh and clean water, I don't believe that we should have to pay twice for that. So we should consider that.
We can gladly do a measurement based off of the size of the meter, because it will change based off the size of the meter, and be able to come back with and update some information for council.
And maybe if it's, just to make it simple, I know we have a certain calculation for users under 4 dwelling units and users over that number. So if they're just a basic calculation that we can apply a formula per area, because we know exactly where we're flushing and how often, so we should be able to provide that basic rebate to users to and then encourage them to flush their system with
We
that
can gladly
information.
bring that back, Mayor.
Thank you. And I appreciate the council requested the door hangers and the notification system for the flushing and all of that, so I thank you all for implementing that. because that's a great help to everyone to have that information at their fingertips.
We heard you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. City Manager, for following up on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Madam City Clerk?
We have City Attorney's report.
Mr. City Attorney.
Mayor and City Council, we have a closed session proposal. It's under conference with real property negotiator. The property in question is 515 East Compton Boulevard. Negotiating parties are the City of Compton, City Manager and Assistant City Manager, and Compton Unified School District Superintendent and Deputy Superintendent. Under negotiation are price and terms pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.8. Requesting a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item 9 requires 4 votes, so it'll be brought back. We're at council comments.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes, Mayor. I have a few items to address. Mr. City Manager, could you please put in the 2900 block of Caldwell, there are severe potholes. The residents say they've called in numerous times and they always stop in the middle of the block and they don't go all the way down. And so they haven't gotten down to as far as McKinley, and the potholes, she said, it's just too severe for them to even take that street anymore. So please have that put on the list, as well as the 2400 block of West Bennett. The residents are saying that one resident can't even back out. It's a huge, huge actual pothole, and she indicated that she's starting to park on the street because it's too big. She's afraid that she's going to damage her car. So could you check that and have that immediately repaired? And then let's see, we have, let's see, it was a lot on the corner of, I think I turned it in though, Tejada and Compton Boulevard.
Lot cleanup.
Yes, lot cleanup. And I know that we talked about what we're implementing with the policies and procedures that were recommended by the audit, but have we started to actual work on update the policies and procedures, period, for the policies and procedures book?
Yes, when we meet each week, we have the entire SOM, Standard Operating Manual, with us.
Okay.
We're beginning with the finance part first, though.
Okay.
That's a priority.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure we're working on that also. And let's see, I just have a few events. I have a Compton Creek cleanup, April 21st, beginning at 8 a.m. It's in conjunction with World Oil, and we will meet at 417 West Alondra. Anybody interested in coming out? They usually bring a big crew with them, but all hands are welcome, and we would love for you to join us. It's a nice event, cleanup, and we just love to get out there, clean up, and have all the help we can have. And I will have my town hall meeting on April 12th, 6 o'clock, Burrell McDonald Park, 2516 West Alondra. We will be discussing, we will have someone, the city attorney will be there to discuss permit parking. Public Works, Mr. Wendell Johnson, and Code Enforcement will be there. Come out Thursday, April 12th, 6 p.m. And then I have a Compton Creek 5K run that will be on May 5th at 7 a.m. And we are going to clean up the entire creek. We have already cleaned the entire creek, and we're going to go back and pick up all the other debris that has been dumped again. Please, if you please just call Republic Services instead of dumping. That helps a lot in the community at large. But we'll have a 5 Creek run at beginning 7 a.m. May 5th, and we will start it ends at 11:30, and we're starting at Centennial and 2601 North Central, and we will end at the Compton Gateway Town Center. So registration you can do online or contact Vanita Alsonet at 310-713-3034, or Compton Creek 5K Run, www.eventbrite.com. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy. Councilwoman Sharif?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. On April the 25th, I will be hosting my quarterly business roundtable for District 4 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Dollar High Community Center. This is an opportunity for you to network with local businesses, meet law enforcement, and city staff. Our guest speakers are Allison Phillips of Prime America and Constance Anderson and Joseph Duncan of Pacific Coast Regional SBDC. A light lunch will be served, so please come out and participate. And Mr. City Manager, I've been talking to you again about the lights of the 17 freeway on the underpath. And could you give me an update as to what is happening there with those lights? I know they are no longer working, so could you please tell me what's going on with that, and whether we're going to be able to come up with a system by which we can keep them on?
Council Lady, staff has gone out and reviewed and taken an assessment of the lights. There, apparently the vibration from the freeway has caused the disconnection in the connection of the light bulb to the socket. So we'll look at a lasting improvement to that. If you look at that underpass, there's quite a bit of damage from fires and vandalism there. So they were on a couple of weeks ago. We noticed that they were out last week. We sent staff out to assess them. And once we get look at some possible changes in the hardware, in the light fixtures, maybe we can find something more robust that can deal with the vibration from the freeway, or somehow get that retrofitted. But I'll bring a report back to you. This is the latest report that I got just yesterday.
Okay, thank you. So if you get back with me on that, I appreciate it. And also, you and I had discussed the looking at some avenues as far as the calming of the traffic that's coming out of that Long Beach area, coming because the traffic is coming really fast. And you and I talked about that. I know that's something that I'm hoping that you will still be looking into as well.
Yes, the Public Works Director, those are called traffic calming, and then also requested that we take a look at contracting with the traffic engineer, which we don't currently have, to take a look at putting a crosswalk somewhere close to Atlantic and Alondra, between the 710 freeway and Alondra. It's a fairly challenging street there.
Yes, it is.
It's very, there's a long distance and it's uncontrolled, and the streets are very wide just before you get to Atlantic Drive there, and so people pick up a lot of speed in that distance there. So I'm not so sure it's safe to put a crosswalk there, but we'll have a traffic engineer take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. And you sent out a report, and that was kind of alarming to me because according to the report, you said that 4th District has the highest rate of repeat illegal dumping. I'm just looking at what is it that we can do what are we doing in order to address that issue, dealing with safety measures and put in place to address this. How are we going to address this issue? We have, 4th District has the highest rate, highest repeat, which means people are constantly repeating, coming back, dumping here in this district. So how are we going to be able to address that? What will you and your staff be doing to take a look at that and to try to see what is it that we can do to address that issue?
We have purchased some equipment that we're going to be using that I will have code enforcement as well as the Sheriff's Department work with. There will be some operations conducted in the field. I'm not going to really elaborate on what we're going to do moving forward, but there is some technical equipment that we have purchased that we'll be deploying in your area as well as others throughout the city. The point being, and I'll share this with you, whoever we catch doing illegal dumping, we're going to try to either prosecute you and or take your car.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now for the city attorney, could you please provide me with an update on 1105 South Alameda? Because I know that this came up last week, and I'm just trying to make sure that we stay on top of this because this is really this is something that is a concern for the community over there. So could you just give me an update as to where we are with that?
Our office is reviewing the item pursuant to our review system for staff reports and resolutions. I got an answer to our question around 4:30 today, and I expect the item to continue through the system at this point.
You expect the item to continue to be on the agenda? Anybody can tell me when?
I'm not the only one in the system, so I can't tell you.
Exactly when?
Right.
But we can expect it at least hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so.
If not next week.
Okay, thank you. Also, I received an email from a gentleman there in my district, and he had sent in a report, and he requested for emergency pothole repair back in October 2017. The addresses was 1400 to 1500 South California and 1108 East Bennett. As of today, that has still not been addressed, so I'm hoping I did send forward the information, so I really hope that they will get out there and try to take care of that as soon as possible, because really this should have probably been done way before now. So the addresses is 1400 to 1500 South California and 1108 East Bennett Street. There's a lot of potholes there that really need to be filled.
And I received the same request, Councilwoman Sharif, and I also forwarded that to the city management, so we'll both be tracking those improvements together in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also the tree trimming contract, we're supposed to post signs today. You know whether or not those signs were posted, Mr. City Manager, because I know they're supposed to start trimming the trees there on Alondra. And
I didn't speak to the tree trimming contractor today. I know that you guys have been communicating on email with me, so I'll double check with him tomorrow.
Okay.
But the last communication I got was that he was going to post the signage to let folks know that the tree trimming will begin on Alondra going east to west.
Right. Okay, thank you. And there is an article in the paper, and it was in the press telegram, and I really hope a lot of us will have to start tracking this, because there's a bill that's coming up there. It's called SB 827, and it's really going to be, it's a housing bill, and it's really right now it's going to be a concern for a lot of people, because what it does, if this bill passes, it actually is going to change the zoning for all of us from Sacramento all the way down here to the city of Compton. And so that would be able to cause a lot of heights where you can, in certain areas, you can end up with buildings with maybe eight flights, eight stories, 8 stories. So this is something that's really coming through there in Sacramento, and I'm just hoping that we will just try to stay on top of this and just take a look to see where they are and what's happening with that bill, try to make sure that we stay, just keep us abreast of what is going on. It's SB 827. And so that's, they have a big write-up in the press telegram this past week. As a matter of fact, this past week. And so I just think it's something that we really need to start just to be aware of. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Just a few announcements for upcoming community initiatives. We have local nonprofit Runway for Peace. Their 4th annual fashion show is coming up on this Sunday, April 8th, from 3 to 6 p.m. at Dollar Hyde. You can RSVP for free at r4peace.eventbrite.com. And it's a great event that helps raise awareness for the Stop the Violence cause and support young people in their quest to live a safe and healthy life in Compton. Also, the Hub Radio Block Party and Junior Olympics is this Saturday, April 7th from 12 to 5 p.m. at the YAL. There are live performances, food trucks, and fun for the entire family. As stated earlier, the 3rd Annual College Summit by the JT Foundation and Greater Zion Preparation for Success is on April 28, 2018 from 9 to 2 p.m. Also, we have partnered with the Positive Results Corporation once again for the free prom dress party and giveaway. We will be able to have dresses for young ladies as well as jewelry, shoes, and additional accessories. The event is May 5th, 2018, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Dollarhide. If you would like to donate gently or new dresses or any of the above accessories, you can email info@prc123.org. Last year, they assisted about 150 young ladies to go to prom, and they had beautiful events, and they had a great time. Also, yesterday, we lost Winnie Mandela. She was one of the most respected and vocal women and freedom fighters in South Africa. She was a qualified social worker who was passionate about equality and women's rights. Winnie was known by many as a firebrand because of her quick temper and unwillingness to back down from an issue she believed in. She was steadfast in her commitment to a non-racist, non-sexist society and proved a formidable opponent for the apartheid police. And obviously, she was also the wife to President Mandela. And just a couple constituent concern updates. I echo the issues in the 4th District on California Avenue. I've already forwarded you that information, and I'll also follow up. I want to get an update on the maintenance agreement for the Civic Center area with the county and the state. I know you all did a walkthrough and did some assessments there, but we want to ensure that that area is clean and safe and well lit, so I'd just like a follow-up on that. Also, just want to encourage you all, I know we're getting ready to go into the budget cycle, and just to ensure that we can get the schedule for community meetings as early as possible so that all of us can get that information out to our constituents and they can be a part of the budget process. And I've been requesting before and after photos of street improvements, of graffiti being removed, also of just trash being picked up and illegal dumping being addressed. I think that it's important for taxpayers to see how their money is being spent and the work is being done, but if you don't express it or share with the community, they have no idea, except for those people that continually help us by reporting repetitive issues. So I'd like to ensure that we can get a system with the employees to regularly get before pictures, after pictures, and share that on the city's website, because people need to see their taxpayer dollars at work. And just a quick recap, and I'll table some of my other comments for next week with the relative presentations, but I do just want to ensure that the upcoming presentation schedule for Public Works does include Prop A, C, and P funds in the expenditure report. We want to see those fund balances as well as what work is being utilized in those funds. And then also, I think we need to do a better job at noticing when work is getting ready to start. Usually there's signage for street repairs before it begins, gives people an opportunity to make arrangements or to, and also for businesses that will be affected. So as we are getting ready to start the second phase of Central, there will be some delays. That information should be shared, and that should be something that's done regularly. We shouldn't have to ask Public Works to do that. And from the estimation, I know the last walkthrough with the contractor, they were given the notice to proceed from the 22nd, and they have 10 days, so that means that they should be starting by tomorrow or Thursday or Friday at the latest. And so this information should be noticed. The residents, they deserve to be notified when things are going to happen in advance, because they will be inconvenienced, even though it's for a good cause, but we still need to make sure we respect our community and have the proper noticing as in all other communities that many of our staff people live in. We want the same level of service in Compton, and that's really important to me. So I hope that for the next project we do that in a decent and order fashion, because it's not acceptable to not have it. Thank you. Also, just want to follow up. I know we did an assessment, a safety study for the four-way stop sign on School and Arambi, and I'm going to continue to follow up just because it's a safety issue for those kids in that area, for the families. We've had multiple accidents, and so if there's an estimate of when that study will be completed, that way I don't have to keep asking you every week, but I'll ask on the appropriate date, but I just want to know when that will be completed. And Also, I appreciate the residents, are not aware of this, but we actually receive detailed reports from city manager of different issues, ongoing issues that are that we're tracking individually or collectively, and so that's really helpful. And I just want to encourage city management, if you can share that also with our city attorney and other clerk, treasurer, other folks, so that they can continue to spread the word as well, and that we're all on one page. All right, that concludes my comments for this evening. May we have a motion to recess?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Thank you all. We're going to close session, and then we'll come back to successor agency. Fret not, you can always get the update next week or tomorrow. 9:26 p.m., and we will now begin the governing body of the successor agency meeting. Roll call?
Director McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Chairperson Brown?
Yes.